Good evening, friends. Let's start our talk today. Today, I want to take you through my journey of last 2 decades or more than that of photographing snakes and how it happened. How, if you are interested in photographing snakes, what you can do and what are the different challenges you face while doing that. We will also talk about certain controversial subjects in snake photography, about ethical dilemmas and other things into the whole thing. Snake photography, it's very rewarding if it is done properly for proper objective, as well as it's one of the most beautiful group of animals. And if you can show that beauty through your pictures, nothing like it for the conservation of the animals. So, foremost, there are certain things you need to remember when you are going to start a snake photography, or you are already doing a snake photography. I can see here there are a lot of people who already do snake photography or already work with snakes here. So, first thing, always remember that you are doing this photography within legal framework, which you are following all wildlife acts and animal welfare laws. Not like many years back, there was a famous incidence of a picture of a million soman Madhusapre and Indian rock python, and that has taken all the journalism and media with a storm that time, because it was illegal, it was against the animal welfare laws. And after that, there are many incidences happened where snakes are used into commercial movies, commercial assignments, and those all were illegal. And using snakes in any kind of commercial work like advertising and everything is quite illegal. So when you are also doing a photography, you need to adhere to all the wildlife acts and animal welfare laws which is available in India. Second most thing to remember is that you are responsible for welfare of the subject which you are photographing, and the safety of that subject is most paramount than the picture which you are getting. So you should also be always cautious about, while doing a photography, that your subject is not getting hurt or harmed in any way. Third, as some snakes are venomous in nature, their bite can be fatal. So your own safety and precaution is also third factor which you need to always consider while photographing. There are incidences happen of a lot of senior people in the field of snake and conservation, that they got beaten while photographing a particular snake. So my suggestion to all, that it's risky, so your own safety and precaution is also as important as the safety of the subject. Now at the start only, let's touch this topic of ethical dilemma. Generally in wildlife photography, there are different kind of ethics which people talk about: not disturbing animal, not going. So it's particularly very, very subjective in certain point of time. They are very constant without any subject to certain rules, like not photographing bird nest because it always harms, you never know. So we stop those. But in particularly snakes, the snakes is the subject who doesn't like a limelight, or they are not curious animals like some other animals whom even running away will just look behind you and look at who is disturbing them, kind of thing. They will just vanish. So in some of the times, not always, I am talking, like if I am looking at my snake photography, probably 60% to 50% is in wild and 50% in a controlled environment. So other than those pictures taken in absolute wild conditions, some snake images always involve manipulation of position and blocking their escape, because they don't want to be near you, they always want to run away. But your photography is needed for a lot of conservation, education, publication, so you need to picture them. And for that, certain manipulation of a position of a snakes or blocking their escape, where they will not run away till you photograph them, is used. But for those kind of situations, I always call them my 3 Ps, where I request everybody, if you are in certain kind of situation where photographs are necessary and you have to manipulate snake position or blocking their escapes, then please follow these 3 Ps. The first is patience. Allow the subject to settle normally, don't harm it anyway. I have seen some of the people, not now, but many years back, when we used to shoot with negatives and slides, you don't used to know the results. So for snakes not to move and everything, I've seen people putting snakes into a cold environment, so their movement get little sluggish. I never done that. A lot of my friends have never done that, but I have heard and seen people doing that. So I'm telling you, please do not harm subject anyway to make it settle at one place because you have to photograph it. But have patience. If given a proper time, even in a wild also, a particular snake will settle when it is not feeling harm or any kind of stress there. It will settle normally. So have a lot of patience. Second, please take all precautions for welfare of snake or as well as yourself. I know photography is a passion, and while doing a photography, many times we just forget what's happening all around us. But don't do that when you are doing a snake photography. Be aware that snake can, within seconds or even a milliseconds, can just move towards you or towards your legs and hands. And if it's a venomous snake, it can be really risky. The third thing, P, which I would request you to follow, is a prudence, cautiousness, and when absolutely necessary. When you really need to, manipulate the position or block a snake XP, then please do it with a lot of patience and precautions, but try to avoid it as much as possible. Also, during all this talk, you will have a lot of questions in your mind. Please type in the chat window. At the end of the talk, I will take all those questions and we'll discuss about them. So my personal motivation to start doing snake pictures, which was around 1996, it's nearly 24 years now. And it was more for creating images that provoke curiosity and make people question what they think they know about these misunderstood animals. Probably in 90s decade, a good snake picture wasn't many. Today you get a lot of good snake pictures. Fortunately, most of the herpetologists who work on snakes today, or taxonomists or any other researchers, they are also good photographers. So you see a lot of great pictures of snakes all around today. In 90s, that was not the case. There were only few certain photographers used to actually dedicate. One was Ashok Captain, I remember. He probably is the best snake photographer today in India, which was that time he had done with all those slides. So I started doing photographing snakes. My photography started with actually snakes because I wanted snake pictures to do my education and awareness programs with snakes. Because when I used to ask some people about if they have a snake picture, can they share? Nobody used to share. So the first objective of my photography was photographing snakes. And that's how it all started many years back. Now, the second thing is about finding the subject to photograph, particularly when you're doing a snake photography. See, encountering a snake is actually difficult. Snakes are not interested in getting photographed at all. They will often disappear or escape when you go near to them. More than 3,000 species in the world. They are found other than Antarctic everywhere across in all kind of habitat like rainforests, wetlands, mountain, deserts, seas, and almost everywhere in between. You have actually so many snakes around your spaces, but finding them is not easy. So the best part when we started doing a snake photography, because I was doing a lot of snake rescue work that time, I had an opportunity to photograph snakes while releasing or while rescuing. I used to get a lot of injured snakes to attend to treat them. So I used to always get an opportunity to photograph snakes during that time. There used to be a snake park in Pune where I used to go and photograph snakes. So you need to find out these opportunities where you can go and actually photograph snakes. Snake parks, certain snake welfare or rescue work, or if there is a scientist who is working on a snakes into the wild, and you can ask them about, can we come with you to photograph and help you into surveys as well as do photographing your snakes. Those are the opportunities. Other than that, in the wild also you get a lot of opportunities to photograph snakes. uh, but always see to that you are within a legal framework. Don't enter into protected areas without any permissions. But if these are reserve forests where you can walk around and you see a snake in the wild, then you can always photograph it. Particularly to finding a subject to photograph, mainland India, particularly central, southern India, you will have certain seasonal indicators. As snakes are cold-blooded animal, they have to depend on external factors for their body temperature control. So in winter, you will find snakes lot of times in the morning in the sunlight for basking, or in winter nights, you'll find them on the roads into your, forest or reserve areas where the roads are warm. So in the night, they will come and for that warmth on the road. In summer, you'll find them in shades around water sources. In urban environments, many times you find them around coolers and AC ducts and other places. In monsoon, which is kind of a best season in our wilderness to see the snake because of their habitat gets waterlogged, food is also abundant, their activity is more, then you will get a probably more chance. But this happens particularly in central, southern India or mainland India. If you are in northeast part of India, you will have opportunity to photograph snakes probably across the year, because most of the time it's raining there. There is hardly a real kind of summer, and it's most of the rainforest, and so you'll find snakes at all the time there. Now, subject approach. If you are going to photograph snakes, your approach need to be defined at the start. So generally, my approach is always snakes accurately portrayed in a non-violent and educational capacity. If you have a conservation goal, you can take this approach. You have seen those posters of King Cobra movie or a python or some other movies where you see a snake with a big fangs and a head open, mouth open. Those are all violent kind of snake pictures which people try to portray and create a fear. But in your photography, you can always try to stay honest with the snake as an animal which you need to be respected. So you can have a non-violent and educational capacity of pictures of a snake to do. Second objective as a photographer you can always have is taking clean, beautiful, artistic images. That is your photography goal. You are going to show the snake in its habitat, in its all colorations, in all its beautiful texture on the body. Those kind of pictures is all your photography goal. But as other wildlife subjects, you need to understand and study the behavior of the animal you are going to photograph. Because till you don't understand its behavior, whether how it gets stressed, you need to look at snake and understand whether the snake is stressed or not stressed, it is at rest or it is not feeling threatened. All those things you can see by behavior of a snake while photographing. So you need to understand your subject very well. So please study it if you are deciding to start snake photography. And another approach, as I discussed earlier, is first find a subject to photograph. And most of the time, remember, it's a teamwork, because when you're photographing snake, you need to have somebody who understands snakes, their movement. If there is a venomous snake, if any accident happens, what can be done? What is the first aid? Either you should know or you should have a team member. Team member also helps in holding flashes. If you are using a flash photography, your friends and others, they also help you in photographing flashes. You're off camera or different sides to get a different angle of light. Most of the time our snake photography is always a teamwork where somebody else is helping you out with preparation. As a photographically, it's not an easy subject to photograph. It has a long tubular structure, so you always have a focusing challenge. If you are focusing on a head, the body and tail is out of focus. If you're focusing somewhere in between, all other parts are out of focus. So it's always a challenge because of its whole body structure. Second thing, as they are cold-blooded animal, you will not find them in a nice light always. They are always in the shadows, hiding under leaves, under rocks or somewhere. Their skin is also very shining. So if you are doing a flash photography, there is always a lot of reflections. So lighting challenges are going to there always when you photograph snakes. Third, it's always moving. As I told you, they are not comfortable with people around them. They will try to run away. So they will try always to move or hide. Many times you have a snake there and you will always try to hide its head below its coil, and then you will not get a head at all in the picture. So there is a lot of composition challenges because of movement of snakes. Fourth, it can be risky or it can be unreachable. You'll have a snake somewhere 10 feet up on the tree, arboreal snake, or somewhere away where you cannot go near. So there is always going to be a distance challenge while photographing it. So I will tell you how I do it. I am not saying you all need to do the similar thing, but I can only tell you what I do generally. So when I am going to photograph a particular snake or want to go into the wild, running, walking there, and I see a particular snake, I start visualizing how do I want this picture. So I ask two questions to myself. Why am I taking this photograph? What do I want to show the viewer? Why this question? Because if I don't get answer of the first question, why am I taking this photograph, that means I'm doing a random photography and I really don't need to stress that snake for photographing it. So if I have a particular species picture, probably I may not photograph it again. If I don't have a good picture, yes, but if I have a good picture of a particular snake species, next time when I see that species in a wild, probably I may not take that picture because I don't get the answer to the first question, why am I taking this photograph? Second is, what do I want to show the viewer? Either it's an educational approach or you want to have an artistic, very nice portrait of a snake. So all these answers will help you to decide whether you want to take a wide angle shots with the habitat environment on landscape with it. You want to take a portrait or a macro shots. you want to have a behavior shots, or you want to tell a story with that particular snake around, or you want to do a very good artistic creative image with backlight, rim light, silhouettes, any kind of different artistic creation you want to do. So if you once start visualize what you want to do, then you can decide what kind of equipment you want to use. You can decide your mindset, your positions. So before you start disturbing snakes or stressing it out because of going near and photographing it, decide what you want to do. Some of the photography skills which you will need to photograph snakes are not much. You just need to understand composition rules a little bit here and there. You need to master the light, particularly the flashes, because most of the time you use flashes while doing a snake photography. Understand depth of field, that is on the aperture, what kind of depth of field you need to have a snake into focus or only a particular part into focus. You also need to research your subject. Those who understand snakes, if they see a picture, they can always tell you it's unnatural position. So you need to research your subject, where they can be really settled or can look natural, kind of thing. And another skills which you need to have is patience. You need to have infinite patience to do a snake photography. But I will tell you always, if you want to have a competition in a wild with a snake about patience, you will lose. There are certain pit vipers whom get into the wild. They are ambitious, so they are at a particular position, and then you wait around to get into a better position to photograph. Probably you have to wait for a day or another day till they become, they will move or do something. You can't sit there for that much time. A snake can actually stay in a place to find its prey or ambushing it as such. What hardware you will need? You can actually do snake photography with any kind of camera, but particularly I can only tell, I use more macro, wide angle, or even a tele lens to do my snake photography. I use flashes. Sometimes I use diffusers also, reflectors also. Today you get a lot of good video lights, LED lights, which also you can use it as a additional light source to photograph snakes. uh, Most of the people sometimes don't use monopods, tripods, kind of thing, but I generally don't believe on my hands so much, because snake has such a body, you never know which part will go out of focus and which is soft. So you need a sharp image. So I generally, once I decide on my composition, then I set up my tripod, put my camera, as you can see on the left side picture. While doing a hum nose, there is a small hum nose pit viper on the ground in the wild. So this is how the photography can be done in a wild completely without disturbing snake or moving it at all. If your camera has a capability to shoot raw image, that will always helps. Today's cameras have a very high dynamic range, that is ability to keep information on shadows and bright part of your image very widely. And so while post processing, you can actually open up some of the shadows which you don't get while doing it on the ground, or reduce the lights in some of the work. So start shooting in raw and it will surely help you. Now, composition is a very, very important part when you are doing a snake photography. I have shown you certain, here, if you do the equal distribution of those rectangles on the top, that looks like something, divided, very uniform kind of thing. If you do unequal distribution also, it doesn't give you that kind of artistic feeling. But if you allow that unequal distribution to have a movement like a snake body, you will start getting different designs. You see this right picture of a snake, and if I just draw two lines, it goes to it gives a different kind of composition into the frame as such. So I would always say, when you're shooting snakes, start learning to see your photo graphically. What kind of texture is there, what kind of patterns are there, what kind of lines you are getting into the frame. Then probably will start positioning, say like you want to show a snake eye, then position in such a way that the viewer will always look at the eye, not somewhere else. Now here, if I take this whole snake head and put it somewhere here, it may not be good, or put it somewhere here, it may not be good. So always look at your compositions. But let me tell you, when I started doing a snake photography, probably it will happen with everybody, we are concerned more with the content of an image than its design. I will show you with examples. These all the pictures which probably I have taken 20-24 years back. And that time I used to think, wow, what a picture I have taken. But today I see those pictures where I was more concerned with having a part of snake into my frame than any kind of design into the frame. Here, if you see, the half of the coil of the snake is cut, down it is cut. So I'm only concentrating on the content of my image, not in design. So probably people may like this image, but as a photographer, I may not like it now. When I took it, I was very happy I did this kind of photography. Look at here also, a cat snake. Again, I was more concerned with the content of an image than the design of a snake in that particular image and how the different lines are going around. Here also, I just wanted to have that huge python in my frame. I didn't look at the foreground, side ground, backgrounds at all, how much I am giving it space. I just wanted the content into my frame. This is a common rat snake, which probably the most difficult subject to photograph because it never stays still, you know. So most of the time it happens that you just make it a coil on a ground and, picture it from little far away. But again, here it is also content is more in the image than the design. There is nothing photography value to this, except that it's a rat snake picture. So once you start doing it, you'll start getting knack of it. So that's how I started, content in the frame first. And then I started looking at the design little bit here. Though it's still a content in the design, there is at least some flow to the whole picture. Here too, this is a black-headed royal snake from Rajasthan. And then I started getting little knack of what to show and what I want to show to the viewer, So I am looking at an out of focus picture somewhere in the back part of the image here, and more the focus where the viewer can look at the design and the beauty of a snake more than just looking at a content of a frame. And then you start understanding, when you look at a snake, how you want to put it into your frame, the coils and the body structure and the lines. And then you can do a lot of different designs while photographing. At the same time, you are showing the whole snake into the picture. You can do this kind of S curves. Snakes, you have these coils and beautiful colors there, so you can always take even those dry leaves and other things into a part of your design. You can have this kind of, snakes have most beautiful colors, and when they are sitting and when they coil their bodies, you get all these artistic curves and lines in your frames. You need to only decide where I want to put these shadows, these colors and everything in your frame to get a better picture. This is a Litorhynchus from Rajasthan. It's called Sindh owl-headed snake. So some of the time when you are doing a snake photography, you want to show the whole part of snake. What you can do is you can actually look from the top into the below and see that how you are photographing snakes. You can get the whole body at the same plane, probably focusing at every point similar, because depth of field is similar. The distance of every part of snake body is same to your lens from any part. So top-down photography always helps you in getting a nice, good portrait picture, which helps in even identification, doing studies, showing the pictures or for publication. Or you can go sideways, totally low on the ground and shoot it as the behavior or the posture of a snake. This is a very young, hardly 6-inch long, a small juvenile baby cobra, taken with a macro lens, slipping with on the ground around. Or you want to show the little bit with your lights and how this particular snake is from Costa Rica, and this is one famous snake from South America called Ferdy lance. Like we have a Russell's viper in India, this is a Russell's viper kind of snake from South America. Has a lot of bites to people, and deaths also happens there. This is another charismatic snake of the world. You probably have heard a name called Bushmaster. Again, this is taken in Costa Rica. So both this Ferdy lance and Bushmaster, both the images are taken in completely controlled environment. They are not into wild. In Costa Rica, there is a very good photographic collection house in Arenal, where there are certain snakes kept into a natural environment, and you can walk inside and start shooting them in their natural environment. We do not have this kind of place in India, but in Costa Rica, because I had only 7 days there, so I couldn't find Bushmaster or a Ferdy lance in wild. So I took my opportunity to go to that collection center and do the photography in a controlled environment of these snakes. Now, other than that, if you are into a rescue team, or you have friends who are doing a snake rescue, the releasing snake also is an opportunity to photograph them, So this was a Russell's viper rescued long back. These all are were slide shot, which I have scanned for this presentation. And we have gone to release it into wild, and we kept it there. But there is always opportunity to have a wild kind of condition when you release it. This was a photography record I did when I kept it back into the forest, and then I waited there for half an hour for that snake to move around and find a little comfortable place in wild. So the next shot of the snake was hiding into root masses below some trees. So this is a natural wild hide, and this is kind of a wild photography of that particular snake because it has gone wildly. You are not control its movement at all, and you are photographing it that way. So you can have a lot of these opportunities to find out how you do your snake photography. As I told you, you can do a top-down photography because you have to show the whole snake body as such, and have focused the whole body, show the coils, designs, and everything. But at the same time, you can always do little creativity afterwards doing that. Only the same snake, the photograph of only the head, with a much larger aperture to show the everything is out of focus all around except the head and snake. So you can do all this kind of mix up of your photography when you want to show how you want to show the snakes to the viewers. Or you will get just a normal movement of snake. But as I told you, you need a very fast shutter speed. If you see this particular picture, it's little out of focus on the head part. Snakes moves pretty fast. Don't think though they are large sometimes and they move slowly. They are very, very fast sometimes. So you need to have a faster shutter speed while photographing them, as well as the depth of field with a good aperture. So generally, around 7 to 11 kind of apertures always helps in doing the work with snakes. With around 80 or a 60 to 125 shutter speeds always helps. Sorry. Now this is a golden eyelash pit viper which I found in one lowland rainforest of Costa Rica. This was my bucket list. So I have my whole thing was going to Costa Rica was to photograph this snake. And I wanted to try to photograph first in wild. If I wouldn't have got into the wild, probably I would have photographed this also in a controlled environment in that arenal collection. But fortunately, I had an opportunity to find it in a wild. And when I found this snake, as we found in a wild, I have not moved it, manipulated its position, but I could move it around the whole snake. So once I do this picture from this, I also went to the other side. So it's the same snake, same position, only my position had changed to the other side of that particular perch, which the snake was. And then I waited for this opportunity of flicking its tongue. Snakes will always flick their tongue. They smell with their tongue. So it's not that you have to do something to get the tongue out. Within a minute, if you just wait and have a patience, snakes will do the flicking of its tongue twice or thrice. Okay. And then you can photograph such kind of pictures. This also I found it in the same lowland forest. I had a very good naturalist with me who was searching for snakes with me in that forest. This is a Christmas eyelash pit viper, another color morph. So you can imagine this is the same species, a golden eyelash pit viper, a color morph of Christmas eyelash pit viper. They are amazing. They are amazingly beautiful, So it's always, you feel satisfaction when you photograph such kind of beauties. This is our Malabar pit viper. This was again done in a controlled environment where we have manipulated the snake position on that particular bark. And I have actually probably used 2 or 3 flashes that time. This was done in the slide many years back. Some of you are on the talk today, probably present that time. So this was done in a controlled environment where we wanted to do a very artistic picture of Malabar pit viper. And probably that's why it looks in wild. Probably you may not get such kind of opportunity, but this was manipulated into a better position, block it, escape, waited for a nice opportunity that time. This is again taken in a collection in Costa Rica. This is the third color morph of the golden eyelash pit viper called orange eyelash pit viper. So this was naturally in the collection on a particular bark, and there was a sky in the background. So I just thought that I will take this picture with different design. So you can always have this kind of different visualization with every snake picture which you want to do. This is Humnose pit viper from our southern Western Ghats. This is as taken as in a wild. So you can look at the designs of the composition and put your snake position in the way which you want to do. These are different kind of techniques of a composition you can find out. As a photography techniques, you need to really understand the flashes. Some of the pictures you saw till now where there is a completely black background, those were taken with the flashes with a very small aperture, probably a f number of 16 to 22, or even I have used 25 somewhere. and the picture is taken on a manual mode. Flash is at higher intensity, the aperture is small. So when you do that, because of the long depth of field, but the flash cannot reach to that depth, you will get the whole black background in the back. And that's how you can actually, value add into your picture by just showing a snake with a whole black background. Or you can find give a different direction to a picture. Here is a wine snake picture where the snake is sidely looking at us but always trying to run away, so you have a different direction where there is the subject is trying to go in the back somewhere. Similar snakes, you can have another direction at another angle. A wine snake, if somebody goes closer, open its mouth and try to make you afraid of it. So that's an opportunity for you to do a little kind of mouth opening pictures, but don't do is purposefully by, harming a snake or doing a movement around it. If it naturally happens, well and good. You can do more creativity. Because I was working with this snake in Arunachal called callback spit viper, I had an opportunity to work all around the snake and pictures whatever I want to do. So this particular picture is taken from the front view, and you can all see one fang is out of the mouth. So with vipers, many times that happens. Vipers can take their fangs out without opening their mouth much. They can just take one single fang out of their mouth. You can do a certain behavior or quite helpful pictures with snakes. Like here, snakes is molting. It's called ecdysis. In snakes, the whole shedding of skin starts from their lips, and the whole skin comes out of the body. It's the outer layer of the skin made out of keratin. So I always wanted to shoot how the snakes take the skin out. So you can always do this behavior kind of shots. This is a neotropical bird eating snakes in a bird nest in Costa Rica again. Now, you can always try to shoot snakes in their habitat. This is a king cobra sitting on a nest in Arunachal Pradesh. The picture is taken with a 500 mm f4 lens. I wasn't close. I was nearly 15-20 feet away. And then we are shot. It's not because I was afraid of king cobra, but I don't wanted to disturb it sitting on the nest, because this female is probably guarding the nest from other predators and sitting there for a long time. So you can use the long lenses not to disturb a snake at all. So this is a king cobra on its nest in Arunachal Pradesh. You can do this kind of complete habitat shots. This is the Indian rock python in a Koina forest, and this is a wild photograph. The python was hardly 4 feet long, but because I was using a wide angle lens, I could actually show the whole vista of a jungle and a kind of a large size of python. But let me tell you honestly, this python was hardly 4 feet long. Only because I was shooting with a wide angle lens with certain angles, I can show the whole picture is much bigger. This is a dogface water snake in mangroves around Mumbai. That's why you get a lot of these shadows, but sometimes these all shadows also play a major part in showing a picture. These all pictures were in a slide. I haven't shot them after once I did it long back. This is another Indian rock python in going, if you go to Bharatpur, you will get this kind of pictures a lot if you wait and have a patience to wait around pythons there. But try to have a snake pictures with a lot of these habitats, which will help you to show how they live, what they do, how beautiful this whole animal group is. Now we come to, after you understand the designing part of it, see your picture graphically, compose it very well. So don't just be satisfied with the content of a frame, but just start getting into design of a frame. Now this is a bamboo pit viper where, this frame was taken because I wanted to show again the direction, and the snake is on the left side. This is as it is, no crop has been done. But once I was doing this, you start getting a lot of creative ideas. So the next picture is a creativity. Now I will show you the next picture, and we'll go back to this picture. This is a creativity which I feel my visualization, I want to do that of the snake scales. And this is a raindrop on the snake body with all that body curvature. So I'll go back to the picture, and if you see here, I have taken a close-up of this part. I have moved closer with my 100 mm macro and flashes and taken only picture of this part. Now, two things you can do. You can always take these pictures with a higher resolution camera and crop it in such a way that you can also show you by cropping. or you can just go near and take this kind of pictures. Both, I don't think anything wrong in it, but start doing creativity if you can, if you want to show a beauty of snake skin or beauty of snake, not only with the full body pictures, but their scales, their skins, their eyes. Start doing a lot of creativity. It will give you a rewarding results. Same thing, this is a Soskel viper from Rajasthan called Shocharekis viper. It's also commonly called as a carpet viper in some of the areas which is found. So I wanted to have this whole feeling of carpet. So I titled this image when I did my exhibition as a carpet with eyes. You know, Unfortunately, what happens, in the nocturnal, these are the nocturnal snakes, so they are active in the night. So when you're shooting it, you have a torchlight with you, and when you have a torchlight with you, a lot of insects comes around and they either sit on the snake body or comes in between your pictures, which you can't help it. They are kind of a natural. That's why you can see this hopper there on the snake head. But I liked it. You can actually remove it in a Photoshop, but I don't want to. So this is a carpet, probably. That's what I wanted to give creatively into your visualization. So you can always do this kind of visualization when you are shooting. So again, this was whole of the how do you shoot thing with the snakes. As I said, you need to have a lot of precautions. You need to be a lot of legal bindings, and generally, honestly, there is no judge there to tell you that you are ethically right or wrong of manipulating a snake position or stopping its escape. Honestly, it's wrong to stress out the snakes, but if you want to shoot, you need to have that picture. You manipulate a position. I will not say accept it, but personally, when I was started shooting, I want to shoot one picture of that particular snake. Probably I have manipulated the position, but I always honestly say that I did these pictures in a controlled environment. Till you are not saying that I have shot this picture in completely wild environment, I think I personally will accept that be honest, because you need to have this picture, but try to reduce that stress at a very, very minimal level. I will tell you one example which I learned from my good friend Ashok Captain when he was photographing snakes in 90s, and I used to be with him, where we used to have this metal snake rod in our hand, and we used to move snake into a different position for photographing. A metal in a winter is very cold, so sometimes even you have experience if you're handling snakes, that you touch a stick, the snake generally suddenly starts moving or doing a movement. That is because of coldness of a stick. So I learned from Ashok about even warming up our sticks before touching the snake. We used to keep the stick under our armpit and warm it little before we touch the snake that time. So we need to go to those extreme lengths to reduce that stress into a snake before photographing. My suggestion to all is that please do those things, and see to that you have enough legal permissions to do those. Otherwise, you can have a problem in your hand. I have seen a lot of people bringing snakes back to their home to photograph. Don't do that. Try to photograph first in a natural in situ environment, completely at the natural position. If it's hiding and you can't do it, manipulating its position in wild there and there itself can be done with all proper precautions without harming a snake to photograph it. But never bring the snake back from wild to your home to photograph it, or never ask somebody to do it, or never pay for such kind of photography. There are certain people who can tell you, I will bring this particular snake to photograph, but I will need this much money. Don't go behind such kind of fools at all. If you can do it in a while, do it in a while. Little manipulation of position in a while, or blocking its escape till you photograph it, though it's little unethical, and but I think it's acceptable, because snakes are the animals, otherwise you'll not be able to photograph like other animals. So before you get into a snake photography, start planning your photography. Decide on what, when, and how. What you want to photograph, when you want to photograph, how you want to photograph. All this need to be answered at the start. Study that particular subject, reference with others who have done the similar photography or work with the snakes, or go with somebody who is studying that particular snake species. Help them, support them, and then photograph them. That kind of, in today's world, the opportunity you will get less. During our time, the researchers not used to be a photographers, not many times. So we used to go to with some researchers and then probably photograph the snakes. Today, every researcher is a very good photographer today in particular snake and taxonomy field. So probably you will not get chance. But if you have a good friends into the same field, you can always go with them, accompany them to photograph snakes. You need to prepare your equipment accordingly, because if you go out to do a macro photography with a wide angle lens, it's no use. Or if you are going to shoot a snake with a habitat that's in your visualization, and you try to do with your macro lens, that will not be possible. On field, once you have decided on your composition and visualization, please set up your equipment little away from a snake first, understand how you are going to set it up, and then move closer to a snake to accomplish your photography. Prepare for every eventuality. If snake runs away towards you, you have an escape route. A snake has an escape route. You have a friend with you, ask them to help you with your flashes, but prepare for every eventuality. I will always say that a snake photography is 99% time is a teamwork. So have a team of friends ready with you to do a great photography. Wear always shoes and long trousers. There are a lot of cases photographers got bitten on their legs, because by the time they do adjusting on your camera, snake has moved to their feet, and probably they got bitten on that. So always wear shoes and long trousers. And the most important part is actual shooting need to be as short as possible for the welfare of the subject. Don't keep shooting for 2 hours one subject, because as I told you, they are cold-blooded animals. They get stressed out very fast with temperature shocks. So once you all are ready, go there, shoot within 5 to 10 minutes whatever you want to shoot. If you are going to take more time, give a rest to the snake, put some black cloth or other, or go away from the snake and stay somewhere till the snake gets back to the rest position. You need to follow certain rules. Now this is what you see on the slide is the most beautiful snake in the world, called gaboon pit viper. It is again taken in a controlled environment on my mobile. So you don't need to always have a SLR to shoot a good pictures. If you understand the composition, you can always shoot with your mobile if there is an opportunity. This was done in a collection in Geneva in Switzerland, which is a very odd place to see a gaboon viper for me. But when I got the opportunity, I have taken this mobile shot of it. So please follow certain very rules strongly. Don't keep the snake blocked for too long time. Second, if you are manipulating them in a different position to have a better picture, please leave them at the exact spot where you found them. Don't just leave it where you have moved it. Get it back to the place where you found them and then leave it. Snakes get stressed while photographing them, so avoid unnecessary handling and temperature shocks. Don't put them in the sun too for better lighting. They will go into temperature shocks. So not, when I said manipulation of position, that is not for better light or anything, but for better of a photographing whole snake as such. Don't bring snake from darkness into the light just because you want a better light. Okay, they will probably get into that sunlight, into temperature shocks and die. Try always to shoot in a natural and in situ. That means as found. If you don't or can't get a good picture out of that, you can manipulate into a position by doing a lot of precautions. But be honest in saying that the snake position is manipulated. I do not, use any of my snake pictures where I've done the control environment shooting or manipulated the position into any kind of competitions, because it's wrong to do that. So my suggestion to you also, there I will see a lot of pictures with a lot of wide angle habitat shot. Probably they are manipulated into positions. Snakes may not go and just stand on a branch somewhere on the waterfall many times. So it's nothing wrong. These are the artistic pictures. Nothing wrong in doing that, but accept it and say it that I did it in a controlled environment. Honesty is always necessary. I think we'll take your questions. I will see if there are any questions there and answers it. This is Mittal. Hi, Mittal. Your question, does mobs of the Spain species have anything to do with the region? For example, I know people have been taking photos of Malva pit viper mobs. Not sure if anything has been published. Mittal, there are a lot of different mobs. Yes, geographically also it is present, but I have seen a similar 2 or 3 different color mobs in the same geography also. Like particularly in eyelash pit viper, I have seen orange, golden eyelash as well as Christmas in a similar locality, similar geography. So it's not always saying that the color mobs depend on geography, but color mobs happens. Maybe it's isolation into a same geography of particular population. Maybe there is some other reasons of genetically variation into them. I'm not, out on the limb to say about those things. There are a lot of possibilities there, but it's not that the color morphs means they are geographically always into different geographies. You will get a Malabar pit viper, reddish brown, greenish morph, as well as a little blackish morph. You know, there are different colors. In Ambol, you will find 2-3 different colors itself. So it's not necessary color morphs is always a geographical variation. In the same geography, you can find different color morphs. Mayuresh, where exactly the callback pit viper was photographed in Arunachal Pradesh? How difficult was it to find this species? Can you tell us about your experience about the same? Mayuresh, it's a long story. This particular callback pit viper is photographed in a central Arunachal in a place called Sango, in a Laporiang circle closer to Sagali, you know. So it's a central Arunachal. But after we did that work in 2006 and 2007, there are other reports from other Arunachal part also of a callback pit viper sightings. So probably you will find it whole central Arunachal, Zero, and other areas also. So this was when we were searching for this particular snake, and it's not easy. We did nearly a lot of search, and we probably found in 2 years 1 or 2 specimens, not more than that. So it was hard work finding a subject, something which is unknown to science. This was the first report from India, or even known to science. Finding a snake is not difficult, is not easy into the wild, you know. So if you are doing a surveys, or if you are accompanying some survey teams, it will take a lot of hard work to find a snake and photograph them. Or sometimes you are so lucky, like you are just traveling, like those king cobra on a nest. I was just traveling from, in this Kolbaki pit viper work, I was traveling from one village to another village. So just 5 minutes out of the village, we saw 2 king cobra nests with 2 female king cobras 50 meters away from each other, sitting on their nest. So sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you have to do a lot of hard work to find a particular species. Hi Pranad, most snakes are said to have bad eyesight. In your experience, have you ever seen any bad effects of excessive use of flash on snakes? Pranad, I generally haven't done a very long time of shooting. Probably I shoot snakes with flashes maximum 5 to 10 minutes in a particular spot. And if I'm going to do, probably I will give it a snake a rest. There are no reports of snakes harming their eyes with flashes as such. Uh, Probably I really don't know. It can happen a momentary blindness if there is a very high light source there, but generally you can always reduce your flash source by putting diffusers on them. Then it doesn't hurt. I think there is no reports of any harming to eyes as such, but I will probably avoid shooting snakes which are on molt. They have this cloudy skin on their eyes, and their eyes becomes cloudy. And I have seen sometimes while doing a flash photography with the molting snakes, which has this cloudy covering on the eyes, I have seen little bit kind of movement when I use flashes. They just go little back kind of thing, but very little. So I really don't know whether when they are on shading or when they are molting, is the light source harming them more, but that may be a possibility as such. So I don't know. I can't answer your questions complete satisfactory, I think. How to control or diffuse external flash? One is, you can control through your manual movement, but the best thing is use a diffuser on your flashes. Today's flashes get a lot of diffusers to put it on the light source. In lot of earlier days when we never used to get diffusers much, what I have used is I have to put the tissue paper or toilet paper and put it with a rubber band on the flashes to diffuse them. I also use Vaseline. In one time I used Vicks Vaporub also to put it on a flash head to diffuse the light. You can use Scotch tape also on your flashes to diffuse the light if you don't have a diffusers with you. But today, I think diffusers are widely available, not like before where you have to really find a diffuser somewhere. So start using diffusers on your flashes if you're using this kind of photography. There are more. I think there are no more questions. Any more questions, friends? Thank you guys for.
No, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Who is this? Thank you guys. You can always write to us at natureworksindia@gmail.com. That's the company which I run. We are into a lot of archival printing and a fine art printing of your photographs. If you need any help in support of your printing of your pictures, contact us. Or you have my personal website and Insta handle of both Kedar Bhide and NatureWorks India. They're on the screen. If you have any more questions on this, you can contact us anytime. I will come back to you on that. Thank you very much for attending and giving a nearly 45 minutes, 50 minutes to me. And as again, I will say, be cautious. Okay, there's a question from Ajay. Alok, if there is any plan to talk understanding snakes more on biology and taxonomy. Varadgiri does a lot of good taxonomy talks, which is always happening. There are a lot of people who are doing taxonomy talks on snakes as such. So probably I will not do any taxonomy talk because I'm not into a full-fledged taxonomy at all anymore. But I will be probably doing a talk on snakes as such, and also the snake bite death situation next week. Uh, Keep watching the Facebook page for details or Insta page for that. I'll be doing 2 talks next week. One will be on venomous snakes of India, and second will be on snake bite, envenoming, and challenges in India. On these 2 talks, I'll be doing on 19 and 21. I do not have at the moment details because I will not be hosting them. Somebody else is hosting them. As soon as I get details of those talks, I will let you know through Insta and Facebook. Thank you very much. How about a talk on snake watching for beginners? Yeah, we can always do that, but snake watching is not like bird watching. You need to really find a snake to watch. It's very difficult to find a snake to watch. So probably you can do this kind of talk. I can do this talk with photographs and probably give certain guidelines to visit snake parks or any other areas where you can actually see a snakes. But just walking a nature trail, you need to be really lucky to find a snake. Thank you very much.